The desert sun beat down relentlessly on the streets of Mesa, Arizona, in June of 2010. The heat radiated off asphalt and sidewalks, making the air shimmer with waves of distortion. It was a typical early summer evening, the kind when locals retreat indoors or seek refuge under shaded patios. But for Sofia Alvarez, 19, what began as a normal day would end in fear and uncertainty, leaving a mark on her family and community that would last for years. Sofia was a bright, determined young woman. She had recently completed her first year at Mesa Community College, studying early childhood education, and worked part-time at a small boutique in downtown Mesa. Her friends described her as compassionate, outgoing, and endlessly curious. She loved music, painting, and often volunteered at local shelters, spreading kindness wherever she went. On June 12, 2010, Sofia left her shift at the boutique at 6:30 p.m., planning to stop by a friend's apartment before heading home to help her younger brother with homework. Witnesses saw her leaving the store, chatting briefly with a co-worker, smiling in a way that made the evening seem ordinary and safe. By 8 p.m., when Sofia hadn't arrived home, her mother, Isabel Alvarez, grew concerned. Isabel called her daughter repeatedly, but each attempt went unanswered. Panic began to set in. Isabel immediately contacted the Mesa Police Department, and the search for Sofia began. Detective James Holloway was assigned to the case. He quickly realized the challenges of investigating a missing person in a sprawling city like Mesa, where traffic, neighborhoods, and open desert lands created countless avenues of disappearance. He canvassed the area around Sofia's route, interviewed neighbors and witnesses, and retraced her steps from the boutique. Early leads were scarce. Some witnesses remembered seeing a dark SUV following Sofia's car near a shopping plaza, but they could not provide a license plate or a detailed description of the driver. Security footage from nearby stores showed glimpses of Sofia walking along the sidewalk, but the quality was poor and the angle limited. Despite the early effort, the trail quickly grew cold. The police expanded the search, distributing flyers throughout the city and surrounding areas. Community volunteers joined in, combing parks, alleys, and vacant lots. Local news stations aired segments about Sofia's disappearance, showing her photograph and urging anyone with information to come forward. The case captured the attention of the Mesa community. Young and old, neighbors and strangers alike, were drawn into the search for a girl they felt they knew. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The city's initial energy began to fade. Detectives interviewed dozens of people, followed up on tips and re-examined surveillance footage, but no significant leads emerged. Sofia's car was never found, and no evidence pointed directly to her location. The family's worry intensified, but without concrete information, hope became fragile. Over time, the case was classified as a long-term missing persons investigation. Detectives Holloway and his colleagues remained quietly committed, checking databases, following up on any potential sightings, and keeping Sofia's profile current in national missing persons registries. Isabel Alvarez, meanwhile, refused to leave her home unattended, posting flyers on every street corner and visiting shelters, hospitals, and local bus stations in hopes of finding her daughter. For years, Sofia's absence remained an unhealed wound. Her friends graduated, moved away, and built lives, but her memory lingered, a reminder of the fragility of safety in even the most ordinary days. Detectives revisited the case periodically, hoping that technology or a new tip would provide the breakthrough that had eluded them. In 2018, the Arizona Department of Public Safety began expanding its cold case unit, integrating new forensic techniques and enhanced DNA analysis. Detective Karen Moreno, recently assigned to the unit, reviewed Sofia's file. Moreno noticed details that previous investigators had logged but not fully explored. A minor tip about a dark SUV seen near the shopping plaza, and reports from employees at a nearby gas station who recalled seeing a man in his 40s acting suspiciously around the time Sofia disappeared. Moreno requested a review of the physical evidence, which included fibers found near the shopping plaza, trace DNA collected from items Sofia had carried in her backpack, and a partial fingerprint lifted from a nearby bench. These items had never been fully analyzed with the advanced techniques available nearly a decade later. In January 2019, the forensic lab provided a breakthrough. DNA extracted from fibers, and the backpack showed a partial male profile, which was uploaded into CODIS, the national DNA database. Within days, the system flagged a match, a man named Michael Trent, a 46 years old, who had lived in the Mesa area in 2010 and had a prior arrest for assault and trespassing. The discovery shocked investigators. Trent had never been questioned in the original investigation. He had continued to live in Arizona, holding a low-profile life, changing residences periodically but leaving no significant paper trail. The fact that DNA connected him to a decade-old disappearance brought both relief and disbelief to the cold case unit. Detectives began quietly surveilling Trent, confirming his daily routines and verifying his identity. They coordinated with Mesa Police Department officers to plan a safe and discreet arrest. Meanwhile, news of the impending arrest spread subtly through the department, leaving the community unaware of the imminent development. In March 2019, officers approached Trent at his home early in the morning. He appeared calm, even cooperative, asking, "Is there a problem?" Within moments, he was taken into custody without incident. The arrest of Michael Trent stunned the family, who had spent nearly 9 years without any clue of what had happened to Sofia. Isabel Alvarez was overcome with disbelief when informed by detectives that a suspect had finally been apprehended. During questioning, Trent initially denied involvement. He claimed he had not been near the shopping plaza or Sofia's route. Detectives presented the DNA evidence and explained the significance of the partial matches from items collected in 2010. Slowly, Trent's story began to unravel. After hours of interrogation, he admitted he had been near Sofia the night she disappeared, but refused to give a full account of his actions. Though incomplete, the admission provided a critical link that prosecutors could use to move forward. As the family grappled with the news, the city of Mesa buzzed quietly. Longtime residents, neighbors, and friends remembered the young woman who had vanished in the summer of 2010. For them, the arrest brought both relief and the reopening of old wounds. Memories of hope, fear, and uncertainty resurfaced after nearly a decade. Preparations for trial began immediately. Investigators and prosecutors gathered years of evidence, forensic data, witness statements, Trent's partial confession, and reports from the original 2010 investigation. The case, once dormant, was now alive again, bringing the Alvarez family to the forefront of public attention and giving them a chance to finally seek justice. The courtroom in Mesa was packed the morning Michael Trent's trial began. Reporters, neighbors, and residents crowded the benches and lined the walls, eager to witness the long-awaited proceedings. The Alvarez family sat in the front row, holding photographs of Sofia Alvarez, her journals, and a small painting she had made shortly before her disappearance. The air was heavy with anticipation, the weight of nearly a decade of unanswered questions pressing down on everyone present. Trent, now in his mid-40s, appeared pale and reserved. His once dark hair had streaks of grey, his hands twitched slightly, and his eyes rarely met the gaze of anyone in the courtroom. For years he had lived unnoticed, blending into his community. But today the past had caught up to him. Assistant District Attorney Rachel Simmons opened the case. On the evening of June 12, 2010, she began, a young woman named Sofia Alvarez left her place of work, intending to meet a friend before going home. She never arrived. For nearly 9 years, her family has been left with uncertainty and fear. Today, we bring the truth forward. Simmons described Sofia's last known movements, leaving the boutique, walking toward her friend's apartment, the witnesses who saw a dark SUV following her, and the security footage that captured fleeting glimpses of her along the sidewalk. She detailed the items found abandoned near the plaza, her backpack, a notebook, and fibers that would later provide the critical forensic evidence connecting Trent to her disappearance. Detective Karen Moreno testified next. She described the painstaking re-examination of the case, the application of modern DNA analysis, and the genealogical techniques that ultimately identified Trent as the suspect. For nearly a decade, this case remained silent, Moreno told the jury. But evidence, when preserved, never truly disappears. She explained how fibers from Sophia's backpack matched DNA found on Trent's personal items, corroborating witness statements and partial confessions. Isabel Alvarez, Sophia's mother, spoke with composure but unmistakable grief. "Every day I asked myself where she was," she said. "Every day I hoped someone would remember something. Today we finally know the truth. Nothing can bring her back, but justice can honor her memory." Her words drew tears from many in the courtroom, including reporters and some jurors. The prosecution presented physical evidence alongside witness testimony, the DNA match, fibers recovered from the plaza and sidewalk, and historical accounts of Trent's suspicious behavior near the location that night. Despite the passage of time, the evidence remained strong. Connecting Trent directly to the scene, Trent's defense attorney, Samuel Hart, tried to challenge the DNA evidence, suggesting possible contamination over nearly a decade and casting doubt on witness recollections. He also argued that Trent's partial confession had been coerced. Moreno and the forensic team countered, emphasizing the chain of custody, rigorous laboratory procedures, and the consistency of witness statements, leaving little room for doubt. When Trent took the stand, his demeanor was subdued. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he admitted quietly. "I was near her. Things got out of control. I panicked. I didn't know what to do." While the confession was incomplete, it aligned with forensic evidence, historical witness statements, and timelines established by the investigation. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. The evidence was compelling, the timeline clear, and the story of Sofia Alvarez, nearly a decade forgotten, finally fully illuminated. When the foreman returned to announce the verdict, guilty of second-degree murder, the courtroom exhaled collectively. Trent lowered his head, expression blank, while Isabel Alvarez allowed herself a mix of tears and relief. After years of uncertainty, there was finally a sense of resolution. The judge imposed a sentence of life in prison without parole. "For nearly 10 years, your actions have caused immeasurable pain and fear to a family and community," the judge said. "Justice, though delayed, has arrived." Outside the courthouse, residents of Mesa reflected on the long struggle for answers. Friends, neighbors, and longtime community members embraced shared quiet remembrances of Sofia and placed flowers and candles at makeshift memorials near the plaza. The impact of her disappearance and the ultimate resolution rippled through the city, a reminder of the fragility of safety and the importance of persistence in seeking justice. Detective Moreno commented on the case months later. "Cold cases are about more than evidence," she said. "They are about giving families answers, remembering the people who were lost, and ensuring that those responsible are held accountable." Sofia's story could have been forgotten, but it wasn't. Community members began organizing memorial events and scholarship funds in Sofia's name, honoring her passion for education and her selfless volunteer work. Schools incorporated her story into lessons on civic responsibility, safety, and empathy, ensuring that her legacy would endure for future generations. Even years after the trial, Sofia Alvarez's story remained a touchstone for the city. Her laughter, her warmth, and her quiet acts of kindness continued to echo through Mesa, in the community center where she volunteered, along the streets where she walked, and in the hearts of those who had loved her. Nearly a decade had passed since her disappearance, yet the truth had finally emerged. Justice came late, but it came, restoring a sense of peace to a family and a city that had waited far too long. Sofia Alvarez would never be forgotten,